extend a special thank you to each volunteer, the staff running this building, the University of Washington police officers and security present at this event, and the TPUSA staff who helped us plan this event. Without you, this event would not have been able to happen. Well, without further ado, Dr. Carson is a celebrated American, retired neurosurgeon, author, and is currently serving as the National Advisor for Nutrition, Health, and Housing at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Born in Detroit in 1951, he rose from humble beginnings to graduate from 1951 from Yale University, and the University of Michigan Medical School. Dr. Carson gained international fame in 1987 for successfully leading the surgical team that performed the first known separation of twins that were joined at the back of the head, with both twins surviving. He is also a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom and has authored numerous books, including his autobiography, Gifted Hands. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Ben Carson.
Yeah! Thank you! Woo!
So nice to be back here in the state of Washington. I used to spend a lot of time here because I was on the board of Costco for 16 years. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I really appreciated about Costco was its founder, Jim Sinegal, was a radical left-winger. But no one ever knew that. And he always said, why would I rebuild that and alienate half of my customers? And it was very wise and smart thing. There's so many people who have to bring politics into everything. But we do need to be thinking about what made our country successful and what will make it successful in the future. We need to think about why it is that we're the only country in the world that has a dream. Everybody's heard of the American dream. Have you heard of the French dream? Or the Portuguese dream, or the Nigerian dream, or the Canadian dream? No. The Canadians thought they had one until recently, but we're the only ones who a dream of being able to determine what you're going to do and make it actually come true. One of the things that I've always been impressed with is the fact that you can come here as an immigrant, and so many of the immigrants are successful. And they say, you mean all I have to do is study and work hard? In the countries that they came from, that wasn't necessarily the case. And my American dream was to be a doctor. I just loved medicine. From the time I was a little kid, I would watch TV shows that had doctors on. I even liked going to the doctor's office. I would gladly have a shot just so I could smell the alcohol splash. Anything that was doing medicine, I was really cool. But there was one big problem. If you're going to be a doctor, you got to go to medical school. And if you're going to go to medical school, you have to be a good student. I was a horrible student. I was probably the worst student you've ever seen. I thought I was stupid. My classmates thought I was stupid. My teachers thought I was stupid. The only person who didn't think I was stupid was my mother. And she was always saying, Benjamin, you're much too smart for bringing home grades like this. I brought them home anyway, but she was always she was always saying something that was encouraging. But the kids used to tease me mercilessly. And I tried to act like it didn't bother me. But it did. It bothered me a lot. Not enough to study, but it bothered me a lot. And I kind of liked the smart kids. There was one kid, his name was Steve. He was the smartest kid around. He wanted to make sure you knew that. He always would come to you after test and hold his A from your face. Say, let me see yours, let me see yours. You want to let him see it all right. But you get in trouble. But I admired him. I said, he's the same age as I am. How can he know so much stuff? But my mother was extremely concerned because she had less than a third grade education, had been shuffled from home to home, came from a huge rural family in Tennessee, got married when she was 13, trying to escape dire poverty. They moved to Detroit. She found out when we were there that my father was a bigamist in another family. That resulted in a divorce. And she was there trying to take care of her two young sons by herself with no support. And she would leave the house at 5 in the morning, get back at midnight, going from house to house to house, cleaning, because she didn't want to be on welfare. She wanted to be able to control her own destiny. And she was very concerned that we would end up having similar lives. And she prayed to God for wisdom. What could she do to get her young sons to understand the importance of developing themselves intellectually? And God gave her the wisdom, at least in her opinion. My brother and I didn't think it was wise at all, because it was to turn on the TV and make us read books and submit to her written book reports, which she couldn't read, but we didn't know that. Little check marks and highlights and underlines. But I hated reading. And I love watching TV. I love playing outside. But after a while, I actually began to enjoy reading those books, believe it or not. And I started reading about people of great accomplishment, engineers, architects, explorers, scientists, surgeons. And as I read all those stories, I began to realize a very important thing. And that is that the person who has the most to do with what happens to you in life is you. It's not somebody else. It's not some circumstance. It's you. And that really began to change the way I looked at things. I stopped listening to all the negativity, people saying, you can't do this, and the society is stacked against you. I just threw all that stuff in the garbage. I got to the point where I was reading constantly, all the time. Charlie Kirk was a good friend, and he was always reading. You never saw him without a stack of books. He read 200 books a year, with all the other things that he was doing, which is why he knew so much more than college professors, even about their own subjects. He was a very intelligent individual. But I started reading anytime I had 5 minutes. And within the space of a year and a half, I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class, much to the consternation of all those students who used to laugh and call me names. They were now coming to me saying, Benny, how do you work this problem? And I was sitting at my feet next to while I instruct you. I was actually a little obnoxious. And I remember going up to Steve after the test. I said, Steve, how you doing the test? He poked out his chest. He said, oh, I got 91. I said, well, gee, that's too bad. Oh, I got 100. I said, next time you need help, let me know. That was probably a little obnoxious, but it sure felt good to say that to him.
Yeah.
But, things were going on very nicely at that point. I was starting to think of all the things I could do. And still not watching much television. But my favorite television program was called GE College Ball. It came on every Sunday. They had 4 contestants on each side from different universities. And they would ask questions about science and math and history and geography. I was really good in all that stuff. And I made it my goal in life to be a contestant on and GE college diploma. The only problem was they also asked questions about classical music and classical art. There was no way you were learning that stuff at Southwestern High School in inner city Detroit. I mean, in my high school, if you said something about Van Gogh, they would have said, put gas in it, the van will go. What you talking about? So I had to learn all this on my own. I would go downtown to the Detroit Institute of Arts, which is one of the finest art galleries in the country. And I would roam through those galleries day after day, week after week, month after month, until I knew every picture who painted when they were born, what period it represented, listening to my portable radio, Bach, Telemann, Mozart. Kids in Detroit thought I was nuts. A black kid in Motown listening to Mozart? I tried to convince him that the Motown was from Mozart because nobody was buying it. But I learned all that stuff, and I even decided which college I was going to apply to based on that program, because I had enough money to apply to one college. I said, I'm going to apply to the college that wins the grand championship of college ball. Well, that year, the grand championship was between Harvard and Yale. And Yale demolished Harvard. So I didn't want to go to a school with a bunch of dummies. So I applied to Yale. Fortunately, they accepted me with a scholarship. And I was all going home ready to get on college ball. But the year I went there was the year college ball went off the air.
Oh.
But it had a happy ending because it was at Yale that I met my wife Candy over there, and we married out.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah.
But I still have this funny desire to be a doctor. And I went to medical school at the University of Michigan. I was certain that I'd gotten over the last hurdle and everything was going to be smooth sailing from that point forward. Wrong. Because I did terribly in the first set of comprehensive exams. So poorly, in fact, that I was sent to see my counselor. And he looked at my record and he said, you seem like an incredibly intelligent young man. I bet there are a lot of things you could do outside of medicine. And he tried to convince me to drop out of medical school. He said, you're not cut out for medicine. And you're just going to torment yourself and everybody else. We can help you get into another discipline. I was devastated. Since I was 8 years old, the only thing I wanted to do is be a doctor. And I prayed, I said, Lord, I thought you wanted me to be a doctor. It's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. What should I do? And then I started thinking, I said, what kind of courses have you always done well in? And I realized I did well in courses where I did a lot of reading. And then I said, what kind of courses have you struggled at? And I realized I struggled in courses where I listened to a lot of boring lectures. And there I was listening to 6 hours worth of boring lectures every day. So I made the executive decision to skip the boring lectures. And the rest of medical school was a snap because I used that time to read. Now please don't tell your professors I said to skip the lectures. The point being, everybody learns differently. You have to learn how you learn. Now fast forward a number of years, and there I was back at my medical school alma mater as the commencement speaker. And I was looking for that counselor because I was going to tell me whether I could out be a counselor. Because there's so many people who are just negative. They can always tell you why you can't do something, why something won't work. What if they decided that they wanted to actually help? And this is a real issue for our country today, as we allow ourselves to be divided and pigeonholed, and not wanting to help each other, wanting other people to fail. That is is not a formula for success for a nation. That's something that we must pay very careful attention to. And we also see a rising in our nation, not a can-do attitude that characterized America, but the what can you do for me attitude, which characterizes a lot of nations that never seem to make it. It's something we really need to start thinking about very seriously. I want you to think about what's going on in our country right now. Think about, see if you can figure out what I'm talking about.